Hello and welcome to Queen's Brexit. I'm Thomas Darwood. Brexit has evolved into a situation which calls for a new Prime Minister to overcome its challenge. I believe when we are looking for a new figurehead of any institution, it would be a good idea to source a template whereby such a figure can match the demands and challenges of such a new figure as important as a future Prime Minister. I believe a template to source a surrogate Prime Minister can be found in Scripture in the figure of Joseph, that is, the one with the multicoloured coat. The scenario of Brexit reflects a biblical epic which can inspire a template to overcome this trauma. What Britain needs at this point in time are clear proposals which can determine the leadership in a surrogate Prime Minister to gain the approval of Parliament and the British electorate. Secondly, a vision beyond Brexit to define Britain's relationship with the EU and our future role in the world. Thirdly, this figurehead needs to command and unite the country and have the strength of character to address the new composition of the European Union, especially the pending presidential heads of the EU, to revise the withdrawal agreement to inspire political alignment with the EU in the future. Now, this biblical template can outline the qualities needed to overcome this impasse into a confident future. Firstly, we need to look at how Providence led Joseph, with the multicoloured coat, to convince Pharaoh his ideas can overcome his trauma relative to our Brexit. Secondly, Pharaoh, the head of state, after giving Joseph a fair hearing, is convinced and appoints Joseph as a surrogate Prime Minister. Thirdly, Joseph's lineage descends from Abraham, Isaac and Jacob. In effect, this equates to our royalty. Fourth, Joseph was very talented and experienced conviction that he would one day accede to high office. Fifth, Joseph's plan was to mobilize Pharaoh's parliament to implement measures to evade future famine. 6. Joseph's plan resulted in Egypt to become a biblical superpower. 7. This empowered Egypt with sufficient excess wealth to help other nations when they faced peril. And lastly, the legacy of Joseph reflects his competency in creating a great nation. Now, this template transfigured and what it will mean to Brexit. Now, I propose myself as a future 21st century Joseph with the necessary criteria to become appointed as a surrogate Prime Minister. Now, the first thing I need to convey and establish as a 21st century Joseph 77, I need to show how Providence has led me directly to the Prime Minister and the Queen regarding Brexit. Secondly, I need to convince the Queen and the Prime Minister to approve me as a surrogate Prime Minister for Parliament to examine and further approve. Thirdly, Parliament recognises that I claim to have a Trinitarian identity plus two other symbolic roles, as well as Joseph 77 as a spokesperson for this Trinitarian identity and its two symbolic roles. Including Tom Darwood, I have 7 titles to my name. Fourthly, this is the high office that I am convinced I would one day accede to. 5. I must show how I can repackage the withdrawal agreement with the EU with Parliament's consent and the EU's consent. 6. I will need to convince Britain and the EU in a future partnership that will result in great wealth. 7. This partnership includes America to anticipate any future peril, economic, political or climate change. And finally, a Joseph 77 must reflect competency in sustaining the greatness of Western civilization and Christianity.